the Trump administration faced another example of judicial overreach. Using his full and proper legal authority, President Trump imposed universal tariffs and reciprocal tariffs on Liberation Day to address the extraordinary threat to our national security and economy posed by large and persistent annual U.S. goods trade deficits. The president's rationale for imposing these powerful tariffs was legally sound and grounded in common sense. Three judges of the U.S. Court of International Trade disagreed and brazenly abused their judicial power to usurp the authority of President Trump to stop him from carrying out the mandate that the American people gave him. These judges failed to acknowledge that the President of the United States has core foreign affairs powers and authority given to him by Congress to protect the United States economy and national security. The courts should have no role here. There is a troubling and dangerous trend of unelected judges inserting themselves into the presidential decision-making process. America cannot function if President Trump, or any other president for that matter, has their sensitive diplomatic or trade negotiations railroaded by activist judges. These judges are threatening to undermine the credibility of the United States on the world stage. The administration has already filed an emergency motion for a stay pending appeal and an immediate administrative stay to strike down this egregious decision. But ultimately, the Supreme Court must put an end to this for the sake of our Constitution and our country.
If you somehow still need even more evidence to show that the only thing Donald Trump and the Republicans care about is forcing their narrow-minded worldview on the broader American public, just take a look at this.
And universities should continue to be able to do research as long as they're abiding by the laws and are in sync, I think, with the administration and what the administration is trying to accomplish, but primarily abiding by the laws. I think the president is looking at this as, okay, how can we really make our point? And what are the things that Harvard and other universities are doing that we have to call attention to?
It is quite dystopian and dangerous for McMahon to suggest that universities should only receive federal funding if they're willing to play ball with the Trump administration and cave to their demands. And let me also add this. Attacking the judiciary, media, and education systems is a classic move of authoritarian regimes, okay? And that's what we're witnessing here. And speaking of our country sleepwalking into full-blown fascism,
we've seen it all across the spectrum in the civil, the criminal, and of course in these international courts. And so I think it's great that Trump is pushing back and fighting back. And quite frankly, I'd love for Trump to have a third term so we can reset these courts and actually have folks who follow the law and the Constitution versus their ideological kind of pensions.
So you're willing to break the Constitution and have President Trump have a third term?
Well, actually, I have a bill that amends the Constitution, and there's a process by which you can do that. Now, let's be honest, that's a tough and long road. It has to go through the House, has to go through the Senate, it has to be ratified by the states. But I think what it does is it forces a conversation when you juxtapose the Trump administration, his vision for America, versus the failed policies of Joe Biden and what he did to the economy and international trade.
Yeah, I mean, the bill made a big splash when you first launched it.
just pause for a second to think about how absurd it is to have a sitting congressman actively working to amend the Constitution not to enshrine healthcare access or free secondary education or any other policy that improves the life of the average voter. Also, his dear leader, this is all done so his dear leader can stay in power to continue screwing over working class Americans at the behest of the billionaire ruling class.
I'm talking about for my generation. We have time to adjust, change it. Instead of raising taxes on me now when I need that money to support my young family. It's insane to me that so many people on the left don't see that.
Why wouldn't they just extend the age? Why, I mean,
that's the easiest solution.
Wouldn't that be the easiest thing to do?
The issue, guys, is that it's political suicide. Nobody can actually go after it and try to fix it without just completely ruining their political career.
Yeah, I mean, life expectancy is younger than that, I think, in America. But you're right. More and more people are living longer.
I think once you make it
90s.
to 65, though, it's likely that you make it to 90. Maybe not when you're born, but yeah.
The reason why Fox News is so motivated to advocate for raising the retirement age to help fund Social Security instead of raising taxes on the rich and corporations is because they want to make it more likely that you're going to die before you get to experience the benefits of Social Security, right? They want you to stay in the workforce longer, and especially it does not benefit, right, people who work in intensive labor industries. And another thing, they love to give the rich and the wealthy outs where they do not have to pay more taxes, where they can live freely and they have all these lavish things, right? When they could afford to be taxed more in these corporations. But no, they want the burden to be more on the average American. It's stupid and it's heartless.
What Dr. Oz was telling us on this program is beyond alarming in terms of Medicare and what it is. It's like a cancer that is metastasized. State level spending has gone up 3 times, and Democrats have steadily been pushing towards this universal health coverage at taxpayer expense and, quote, Medicare for all, except using the program originally intended to cover the poor, not one designed for the elderly. And in the process, Medicaid's grown from covering the poor to covering the near poor and covering pretty much everybody.
And a lot of those 7 million people who are going to go without health care are 7 million people who aren't supposed to be getting federally funded health care right now anyway. They're either in the country illegally or they're double dipping. And that is true. And that's exactly what's been revealed and what we know about these so-called cuts to Medicaid.
Well, I got to tell you, one of the other things with Medicaid in particular is you're not going to get it if you have a home value of about $1 million. I don't know. I don't think you should be getting Medicaid if your home is worth $1 million.
Yeah,
well, that's included.
Go ahead and let kids.
And it is getting food out of the plates of kids, especially in Gaza, and condoms to Lesotho. And of course, transgender plays in Latin America. Very important things to fund.
And one last thing, right-wing politics are extremely hostile to anyone who isn't a part of the 1%. And I'm not sure why more people haven't realized this yet, but we've got to open up our eyes. We have to be alert and highly aware of everything going on with right-wing politics and the agendas that are at play, because they are coming for our lives. If you are not in the 1%, right? If you are not wealthy, if you're not a heterosexual white man, you're in danger, okay? And we have to fight back aggressively. For Rebel HQ, I'm Chris Williamson. We'll see you next time.